The hardest part about losing people is realizing sometimes you do not actually miss them. You miss who you were when they were around. You miss the way life felt, the version of you that laughed more, the version of you that felt understood, the version of you that did not feel this empty. Because certain people did not just enter your life, they changed your emotions. They made ordinary moments feel special. Late night talks felt comforting. Simple messages made your whole day better. Being around them made life feel lighter somehow. And then one day, they left. But the strange part is, even after they are gone, the feeling they gave you stays inside your mind. That's why some people become impossible to forget. Not because they were perfect, because they made you feel something you cannot find anymore. And maybe that is why moving on hurts so much. Because deep down, you're not trying to find the person again. You're trying to find the feeling again. A feeling of comfort, a feeling of belonging, a feeling of mattering to somebody. And honestly, maybe this is what breaks people emotionally. Realizing some versions of yourself only existed around certain people. And once those people leave, that version of you disappears too. Think about it carefully. Sometimes you do not even miss the person anymore. You miss the comfort, the attention, the connection, the feeling of mattering to someone. You miss having somebody to tell things to, somebody who understood your silence, somebody who made life feel softer. And maybe that is why moving on feels so confusing. Because deep down, you're not trying to get the person back. You're trying to get the feeling back. Maybe there is a song you cannot hear anymore, a place you avoid, a message you still cannot delete. Not because you're weak, but because your mind remembers emotions attached to those things. Human beings do not remember moments perfectly. They remember how moments made them feel. That is why childhood hurts. That is why old friendships hurt. That is why old relationships hurt. Because sometimes you miss a time in your life more than the actual person. And honestly, this is what makes life so painful sometimes. People live, but feelings stay. Somebody can disappear from your life completely and still live inside your mind for years. Not because you love them forever, but because a part of you still misses the version of you that smiled more, the version of you that felt important, the version of you that felt alive. You know what hurts the most? Realizing some people were never your forever. They were just a chapter, but somehow they changed you permanently. And now every new connection feels different. Every conversation feels lighter, every moment feels farther away. Because no matter how hard you try, some feelings never happen the same way twice. And maybe that is why people become sentimental. Not because the past was perfect, but because the past felt different emotionally. Back then, life felt warmer, simpler, more alive. Maybe you're not crying over a person. Maybe you're grieving a feeling of being understood, a feeling of being loved, a feeling of belonging somewhere. And the scary part is, sometimes you spend years trying to find that feeling again in other people. But nobody gives it back in the same way. But listen carefully. This is not a bad thing, because every person you lose teaches you something about yourself. Some people teach you what love feels like. Some people teach you what loneliness feels like. Some teach you how deeply you can feel. And maybe people were never meant to stay forever. Maybe they were meant to change you. So maybe you do not miss them as much as you think. Maybe you miss who you were when life still felt different. And maybe that is why some people are impossible to forget. Because even after they leave, the feeling they gave you never fully leaves your soul. And maybe that is why healing feels so strange sometimes. Because healing is not about forgetting people. Sometimes it is about accepting that certain feelings belong to a different chapter of your life. A chapter you can never fully relive again. But maybe that is okay. Because some people were never meant to stay forever. They were meant to remind you that you are capable of feeling things deeply. And even if the people disappear, the emotions they awaken inside you become a part of who you are forever.